what I would like to do in the next like 10, 12 minutes is to give you a little bit a glimpse of what the data say. All right, that's good. Yeah. What the data say in terms of the hospitality market here in Saudi and overall. And for this, I would like to go through three things very briefly: global challenges and market resilience, the hospitality and tourism market, with focus obviously on Saudi Arabia, and how the vision and the tourism strategy are actually linked, and what initiatives the government has been taken to grow, increase the tourism sector, also in reference to the overall GDP in Saudi Arabia. Let's jump into the global challenges and the market resilience that we see. There we go. There are basically 5 global themes that are currently very, very hot in discussion in different industry sectors, in governments, in private sector, and these are digitalize, decarbonize, localize, privatize, and modernize. And these themes are on the backdrop of significant challenges, and for those of you who saw my presentation last year, the challenges on the right side of this slide here have not gone away. They have partially become bigger, and there are inflation, the still imminent recession risk. We now do not have only a war in Ukraine, we have one in Gaza as well. Political unrest, which is around the world, insecurity, also in reference to pending elections, global climate change, which was very big also in the region with the 2 COP conferences in Egypt and the UAE, and supply chain disruption, because the supply chain after COVID did not recover as fast as it was anticipated, so there are still disruptions, Suez Canal closure and the difficulties there, to name one of the challenges in reference to the supply chain. Inflation, there's one good thing. Inflation looks like a soft landing. Across the world, with the exception of US and China, in terms of the big countries, has gone down. Has gone down overall in the Middle East as well, quite significantly. And driven by different things. Some were negative, like housing in the UAE, which has increased quite significantly, or Bahrain, F&B has become much more expensive, but there are counter trends. Overall, the inflation looks like approaching a soft landing. KSA inflation has gone down from 2.7% to 1.6% from 2023 to 2024, which is a very, very good sign. And if we look a little closer into it and look into the tourism sector in particular, for Saudi we see very, very, very good figures. And here I would like you to focus on 2019 and 2023, whereby 2023 are annualized figures based on the half-year figures, and it shows a very, very good trend. And I'm just picking out a couple of numbers here. The number of tourists in terms of inbound tourism has grown from 17.5 to 27.4. Domestic tourism has increased in the same time from 47.8 to 79.2, making it an overall tourism movement within Saudi Arabia of over 100 million visitors. And the same is true for almost all measures, overnight stays, tourist spending, average length of stay, for domestic as well as for inbound tourism has grown significantly in the kingdom, which is very, very, very positive. If you now look into what has made that resilience happen. Saudi has experienced a significant inflow in foreign direct investment and a rise of 29% in terms of that, and there's also a shift which is very, very important from the oil-based GDP, which has slightly decreased due to the cuts, versus the non-oil GDP, which has grown by 4.6%, which is quite significant, which is driving diversification, and the tourism sector is a significant part of this growth. Let's look a little deeper into it. Inbound tourism, Saudi, as I said, is currently sitting at 100 million, aims to get to 150 million visitors by 2030. And there are several measures, and the visa facilitation is one of those driving this. There's significant capital investment into that sector, which drives the growth of the sector. And there's a lot of effort putting into entertainment, hospitality, retail, sports, and so on, and I come to this as well. If you now look into the supply side, the hospitality supply side, we see quite a significant growth of 4- and 5-star hotels with 9.4 and 8.8% growth in terms of their supply over the next 3 years. 3-star supply even bigger, with plus 10%. And the hotel sector in Mecca still remains to be the strongest one because of the religious tourism that we see there. But overall, supply side looks quite growing, demand side looks promising as well, based on the development that we saw after COVID with a significant resilience and comeback of the tourism sector. However, there's a little bit of a shift in where's the source coming from, and that's a very, very interesting one, which is shown here. If you look into, the comparison of 2019 and 2023, the inbound tourism, the share of visiting friends and family and leisure has grown significantly. One from 15 to 32%, and one from 6 to 15%. So quite a shift in the distribution of the source of visitors that make up the visitor market, the tourism market in Saudi Arabia in terms of the inbound one. If you look into the domestic one, it has increased in visiting friends and families as well, quite significantly, but as well in business. Leisure remains to be approximately the same. But the biggest shift, and I think that will continue, is the growth in terms of visiting friends, family, and leisure on the inbound tourism side. Brief look at the religious tourism, which obviously got severely hit during the years 2020 and 2021. 2022 is a recovery year, and 2023 we see the figures back to 2019 figures. And if you put all the religious tourists together, Hajj and Umrah, you see 15 million visitors, which is quite a significant number to look at, which is a record year. Hospitality stock, within the next 18 months, there are 11 hotels planned to open, with a total supply of 1,563 keys coming up. So quite significant supply. Majority, as I pointed out in one of my previous slides, in the sector of 4- and 5-star. And if you look into the performance, and I think a couple of speakers after me will go deeper into this, you see quite a healthy performance in terms of the hospitality sector. You see occupancy rates that are beyond the 75%. You see year-on-year average daily rate changes that are in a positive territory, and RevPAR is going up as well. So all the measures are pointing into the right direction. What are the goals? We currently sit at 100 million visitors, and the goal is to go up to 150 million. And from my perspective, no doubt that will be reached. And the majority of that growth will come from inbound tourism. New jobs will be created, up to 1 million a year. International visitors, you see, from 27.2 in the last year, which is an annualized figure, doubling to 55 million. And then the contribution to GDP from 4.5% to over 10%. So the quite significant shift in the diversification of the overall GDP towards a tourism industry which becomes really relevant for the Saudi economy. Where does it come from? A number of initiatives, and I listed a couple of them here, from the visa, from Tourist Development Fund, so there's funding there for projects, the Umrah Plus program, new tourism laws, new licenses, which all come together to foster and grow and enable the market to grow and really bring the right platform and create the right ecosystem for the tourism industry to grow quite significantly. There are obviously key events at the horizon which will further drive this, be it the Asian Cup, the Asia Winter Games, the Expo 2030, and the World Cup in 2034, which are obviously global staged events where we're going to see a lot of inflow of tourism into the kingdom. And don't forget, Expo, for example, is a 6-month event. It's a long event. And the FIFA World Cup, I think the 34 will already be a 6-week event versus a 4-week event, which is now. So quite significant and length and prominent events to come. Conclusion of this, reimagine, there's a lot of resilience in the market, go with a strategy to it, so make sure that you have a robust strategy, not only for the sector overall, which has been put in place, but also on the project and even asset level. Make sure that you, for example, have thought about the activation of leisure and entertainment, of hotels, of the entire industry, if you think about the strategic part of what you would like to do. Experience, it's still a market that matures, and it's focused on end-user experiences. There are a lot of more experience have been created over the past couple of months. Therefore, the offering in the tourism sector is broadening. And proactivity. Align with the Vision 2030, because it's there to be achieved. It's there to be, from my perspective, be overachieved in parts. For example, in the visitor number. And therefore, we look overall into a very bright future of the sector, based on the figures that we currently see, based on the development that we saw from last year to this year, which clearly shows not only a recovery from the pandemic, but already overachieving the figures of 2019 quite significantly, on the way to a healthy and robust growth of the entire sector. Thank you.